Hi, my name's Andy Lee and I'm currently a serving RAF officer with about 10 months left in uniform before I leave the service after a 30-year career early next year, and when I do so I want to work in the land-based sector. Today I want to talk to you briefly about the value of volunteering and what, you might ask, qualifies me to do that. Well, like a lot of resettling service personnel who want to work in the land-based sector, I've been extremely conscious of the fact that my enduring interest in environmental conservation and working outdoors doesn't necessarily equate to any practical knowledge or experience that I can draw on when I'm applying for jobs or going for interviews. So over the last 9 months or so, I've worked quite hard to establish myself in a number of volunteering roles in an effort to try and gain some relevant background knowledge and experience to draw on in the future. 2 of these roles are very practical in nature. One is with the Brecon Beacons National Park, which is just on my doorstep here, and one is with the local branch of the Wildlife Trust. And my total commitment to those 2 organisations on average is about 2 to 3 days per month, with the occasional resettlement training day thrown in there to attend specific activities or get involved in training events. So it's not been a huge overall commitment in the grand scheme of things, but it still has taken quite a bit of forward planning and flexibility to be able to fit those days in around my existing family and work commitments. By contrast, the other 2 roles I'm involved in are more online based and a bit more flexible. One is as the volunteer coordinator with Rural Link, so working with Fiona to plan, establish and conduct some volunteering activities for resettling personnel to get involved in. And one is as a development manager with a small community interest company that focuses on planting trees and establishing woodlands to help offset carbon emissions. So there's quite a variety of activities I'm involved in there, and it's taken quite a bit of commitment and flexibility to fit those roles in around my existing commitments. So what are the benefits that I feel I've gained from being involved with these organisations over the last 9 months or so? Well, I want to highlight 3 key aspects to you today. The first of these relates to welfare. I've found my involvement with all of these activities extremely rewarding and satisfying so far. I've found myself working in a vast array of different environments, but in all cases I've been working with people that are like-minded, they're enthusiastic, they're committed, they're extremely supportive and willing to help, and I've found the whole thing a complete contrast to my day-to-day service life. In fact, I feel like I've taken my first real step on my transition from military to civilian life by experiencing life on the other side. And it's certainly something that I'd like to continue when I leave the service, regardless of what role I actually end up becoming involved in. So from a confidence perspective and a well-being perspective, I've found my volunteering work to be extremely beneficial, and I would certainly recommend it to anyone that's thinking of getting involved in similar sort of activities. The second point I want to make is about training opportunities. A lot of organisations rely extremely heavily on volunteers to achieve their objectives, and as such they're prepared to commit time and resources to training and supporting those volunteers. Personally, to date, I've benefited from approximately £1,600 worth of free training that I've achieved through networking and identifying gaps and following up contacts and speaking to the right people at the right time, and basically being enthusiastic enough to be offered the opportunities. All the good things that we do in the military all the time. So the benefits are there to be had of training if you're prepared to go and look for them. Subject to ongoing restrictions from the coronavirus crisis, I'm confident of picking up approximately the same value of training over the next 6 to 9 months, all being well. So the opportunity is definitely there to be had, they just need to be taken. The third point I want to highlight to you is to do with support to CV writing and job applications and interviews. I recently applied for my first job in over 30 years, in fact since I joined the RAF. It was a little bit of a trial run because timings weren't ideal for me, but I saw it as an opportunity to practice tailoring my CV and a job application to a specific role. In both cases, I drew extremely heavily on my recent volunteering activities to provide evidence that I was compatible with the essential and desirable criteria. And in fact, I was lucky enough to be one of 3 people selected for interview from 35 applicants. Again, at the interview, my answers to the questions drew heavily on my recent volunteering experience. A lot of discussion was focused around dealing with members of the public, working in small teams, problem solving, leadership, management, planning, operations, all of those things that we do all the time in the military. And while I certainly drew on my military experience very heavily, I also, to an equal amount, was able to give good examples of recent volunteering activities that I've been involved in. Ultimately, unfortunately, although I wasn't offered a job, the feedback I received was extremely positive, and on several occasions highlighted the value of the volunteering work that I'd been conducting lately. So rather than come away being pessimistic about not being offered a job, on the contrary, I was extremely optimistic that the work I was doing had been recognised, it was valued, and it was helping to level the playing field between my experience and those who had a lot more experience in the land-based field. Another point that I want to make to you is about the volunteering coordinator role with Rural Link. I mentioned that I was working with Fiona to identify, plan and conduct in-house volunteering opportunity for service personnel. The first project we're planning is going to take place at Westbury Camp in Wiltshire, home of the Army Officer Selection Board, where we're looking to turn a disused paddock area into a wildflower meadow with a pond, a footpath and a seating area, and then continue to manage the whole area for the benefit of local wildlife, the staff there and visiting students. The good thing about this project is that it's completely in-house. It's on MOD land. We are working with DIO ecologists who know the area well, and all of the work is within our control in terms of time, quantity and exactly what takes place. That means that we can offer opportunities to resettling personnel that they can take up within their existing commitments, get involved, get some volunteering work under their belt and get some relevant experience that they can draw on in the future. Again, coronavirus has put the initial work of that project on hold, but once we can establish some dates for future work, we'll advertise those on the Rural Link website and hope to see some of you there in a volunteering capacity to help us out with the work. Second point about that volunteer coordinator role is that it's designed to be a volunteering opportunity, an experience opportunity in its own right, to be handed on from person to person every 6 to 8 months so that as many people as possible can benefit from being involved in it. I've now been involved in the role for approximately 6 months, and so in the next couple of months I'm looking to hand it on to someone else to take advantage of the opportunities it presents. So if you're interested in taking on the role in the near future, please contact myself or Fiona in the near future to discuss it further. If you want to discuss any of the aspects I've talked about today, about the values of volunteering, or if you want to talk about getting involved in the Westbury project, or if you're interested in taking on the volunteer coordinator role, please feel free to contact me on volunteering@rurallink.org.uk. I really hope that this information has been of some use to you today, and I wish everyone the best of luck in finding their successful roles within the land-based sector in the near future. Thank you.